Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this video about the Journey to the End of the World series. My original plan for this was just to sort of mash some deleted scenes and outtakes together, but then I thought maybe I can talk a little bit about the making of the series and how I filmed and edited it, and also answer some of your questions about the production of the series as well. So to start off with, I've got this question from Bobby of how many hours of recorded material is then filtered down to an episode. It can vary from trip to trip, but for this one, Patagonia, I shot 8.5 hours worth of footage, which became a 57-minute film, and for Antarctica, there was 16 hours of footage, which got cut down to 88 minutes across 2 episodes, and had a lot more footage for Antarctica than I might normally do because lots of other people in our group were filming as well, like people getting stuff on their GoPros, their phones, bits and pieces like that. Now, I sometimes get people asking me, why don't I just throw everything into the series? Like, show every moment, show us all of it, give us a complete extended cut, but the reason is that wouldn't make as good a story, you know? Like, the main reason I cut little bits and pieces out is for pacing, or there might be repetition, or it's not relevant, or it was an in-joke, but mostly because of pacing, you know? A sort of typical throwaway travel vlog would just be like an assembly cut of what they've shot, put some music on, you know, stick on some tropical house, chuck it all together, and that'll do. Whilst when you're making a documentary, a film, and you're trying to keep the audience engaged for up to an hour or sometimes even longer, you have to think really hard about, you know, what information you get across. Is this relevant? Is this slowing down the story, or how things are working together? And so for the Patagonia film, I ended up cutting out quite a lot from the start, because imagine someone who's searched for Patagonia on YouTube, found my video, clicked on that thumbnail. They want to see Patagonia, they don't want to see too much of us pissing around at the start. And so at the airport at the start with James, it was fun to see us hanging out again. You know, it's a long time since we've done a video together, but there was some extra little moments I cut out just to get the story moving. But apparently it's last orders. Like, our flight's at 10:10. Fucking hell, we have to do a lot of push-ups.
I didn't say that, you said that.
Hey, I ain't doing 20 push-ups now, I'll do that myself. 5 minutes to smash it. Cheers, man. And then for our time at Buenos Aires, when it comes to the edit, it's like, actually, we don't need to see this, just get on with the trip, show Patagonia. So one of the extra bits I had was explaining about the money there and how you withdraw cash and get it exchanged, which is useful for people to know, but I was just like, this is slowing down the story, get rid of it.
I don't think we got enough money, mate.
So one of the scenes I cut down a lot was a 9-course tasting menu at the Asadu restaurant, because all the food was delicious, it was amazing, and I wanted to sort of show that on film, but again, it was slowing down getting the story started. So I edited that scene and then re-edited it, got it tighter and tighter, and just focused on the meats. But there was all these other really fun moments that didn't make the cut.
So, Karl, you're from the UK, and we've got some black pudding here, so you should be used to this. That's a lot firmer, a lot harder than the other one.
Now for the maps in the Patagonia film, I did something a bit different because, you know, I still have the normal country maps that I do, where it's just a vector map and I put it in After Effects and just mark out the basic routes so you get a rough idea of the geography and where we are and where we're going. But because in Torres del Paine National Park, we're going to be doing all these different day hikes and all boat trips and activities, I wanted to give a very clear sort of overview of where we are and what we're doing. And when we stopped at the souvenir shop at the Chile-Argentina border, our guy Danny said, oh, you might want to buy a map because it'd be really cool as a souvenir. But I thought, oh, I could buy the map and maybe I can use it in the video to explain what we're doing. So I bought the map, and then when I got home, laid it out on the floor and then used my camera to sort of take some really high-res pictures of all of it, stitched all those pictures together in Photoshop, so now on the computer you've got like a real high-res version of the map. And then in After Effects, marked out the route we were going on, and then just animated the lines and animated the camera movements, add some depth of field, and you got this really cool looking graphic that shows exactly what we did in the national park. Now, editing hiking days is so easy because it's just a super linear story. It's not like you're exploring a town. You might think, well, I want that bit of footage to go at the front, then I'll have this bit and then that bit from there. You're going on a hike from A to B, so the footage is going to go in that order that you did it, and you just go through, find the best scenery shots, find the bits where you're talking to camera, just cut it down and make sure it flows nicely and it doesn't drag on too long. And again, you're gonna have some moments that don't make the cut because you just want to keep things moving. So I had this little bit where I was talking about the trees. So earlier on when we were walking through all those burnt out trees, which did look quite dramatic, but that was caused by some dumb tourists starting a fire and just killed off so much of the greenery around here. But where we are now, this is where the fires didn't reach, and the whole landscape should have been just like this. This is where we're going to be going up, I think, up into the French family up there. At the end of the trip, after we'd been to the glacier, I'd filmed more stuff at the hotel because we got back and the hotel had a hot tub that you could book out. And it was so lovely and nice to sort of just relax in it and have a bit of luxury after sort of, you know, the few days of camping, even though it was glamping. Tunes going, beers flowing, hot tub.
And a view.
And a view of trees.
Of a roof.
But in terms of the edit, it's like, it's the end of the film now, just wrap it up. We don't need to see you sit on a hot tub, so that kind of got cut out. I filmed a lot more at the final meal as well, and more talking, speeches, and just explaining the meal, but it's like, yeah, you gotta put yourself in the audience's mind. It's like, okay, it seems like this trip's coming to an end. Why am I seeing you sit in a hot tub, or why are they explaining this meal in so much detail? Just wrap things up, get to the sort of thematic conclusion, and then you're done.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey. I told you, you made me walk up that mountain, I'm going to make you have a shot.
And now onto the Antarctica film. And I originally planned for Antarctica to be one long film. I was like, screw it, it's my most epic adventure yet. Let's make the biggest, most epic film. So it's going to be like an 85-minute, 90-minute film. And I cut it together and I watched it through. And I was like, nope. That's got to be split in two. It just didn't work as a very, very long piece. I think you can get away with the longer run times if you're traveling from one place to another, so the story's progressing and the landscape's changing and things like that. But when it was just, you know, exploring one place and a similar environment, as stunning and spectacular as it is, you know, it didn't have the forward momentum story-wise to sort of work as a longer piece. It's like, give the audience a break, bring it back for more fun in another episode. And I had lots of people ask me about drone licenses and the drone footage in the films, like this shot right here. So just pause that there. You need a license to operate a drone in Antarctica. You have to apply for it, which I didn't do. I was like, it's going to be too much hassle, too much paperwork. It's not like you can easily just fill out a form online. It was going to like be a long process to get a license. So I didn't fly my drone once in Antarctica. You just can't. The place is so well protected, you can't just rock up the drone and just do it. You can't. But on the ship, there was an officially licensed drone pilot working for Intrepid. And the reason this series came out a few months later than I originally planned was I was going to be getting all of his drone footage for the film, so I was waiting to get that drone footage. When I finally got the drone footage, they only gave me 2 shots. Even though he filmed a whole bunch of stuff on the ship, they only gave me 2 shots because they weren't happy with the rest of the footage that he filmed. They didn't want me using it for whatever reason. And so for those 2 shots, I only used them in like the intros and the outros and stuff, just sort of like kind of like the trailer parts of the episode. I didn't want to use them within the episode, like the main part of the story, because if you got drone shots littered throughout, that's fine. But if you only have like the one that suddenly comes out of nowhere, it'll take people out of the story. Like they'll be watching the story and they'll be in Antarctica and enjoying the experience with you, and then suddenly it's like, oh, where'd you get a drone from? That's amazing. You never want the footage to draw attention to itself, like look how amazing this shot is. You just want people to be enjoying the experience rather than thinking about, oh, that's a great shot. So I had those 2 shots, just used them in the intros and outros and like other bits like the Elijah Wood monologue thing, which worked nicely then, but didn't actually use it as part of the story because the 2 shots were from the same day, so you would have had like no drone footage throughout and then suddenly 2 shots appear and then none for the rest of the story, and it just would have been weird. So I just used them where I did. And yeah, if you're going to Antarctica, you're not going to be able to use your drone. Now near the start of the film I had this sequence explaining sort of like the history of my channel and how we got to where we are, and the reason I did this is like you have to assume that anyone watching your video has never seen anything you've ever done before. They have no idea who you are or anything about you. You have to assume that, and it's true. Like most of the views I get on my channel once the videos start taking off are from people who aren't subscribed. So you can't assume any knowledge whatsoever. And for the Antarctica trip, there was so much to set up. It's like, how have you got a group of 28 people there? Like, how's this tour come together? Who are these different characters you're interacting with? And all these different things. And I'd filmed more of me in the hotel in Ushuaia at the start, just explaining this to camera. But just having me sit there and explain it just felt so dry, and it just kind of killed the pace of the video. You know, the film opens with like the big movie trailer setting up the whole series, gets the audience excited, and then you have like the recap, arriving in Ushuaia, talk a bit about the trip, and then if I suddenly just sat there for like 5 minutes just talking about me, you know, like me, this is what I do, this is why I've been successful, all this stuff, the audience will just switch off. You know, they'll be watching it, just sinking in their seats going, oh, this seemed like it was going to be a fun film, and now I'm bored to death. So I couldn't just do that. I needed to set up all this information, which is in the quickest, most exciting, concise way possible. So that's why the voiceover says it's going to be just 90 seconds recapping this, so the audience doesn't think you've just gone off on a massive tangent. And even the music I chose for that sequence actually had like a ticking clock within the instruments to sort of just give it that sense of pace and like, don't worry, this isn't going to last too long. Now I did have someone ask me, did I know that Paddy Doyle was going to be on the boat also? I'm like, yeah, he booked on my tour. He was part of our group. And there's something in the film that gives this away. See if you can figure it out. Fellow YouTuber Paddy Doyle's booked on my tour. See? It's right there. Right, let's go to Antarctica, mate. Fucking go to Antarctica.
We're going and doing the tune.
Down the tune to fucking Antarctica. Be fucking champion. Let's go. Also had someone ask, who can drink more beer, Karl Watson or Paddy Doyle? It's me.
With alcohol, non-alcohol? Alcohol, please.
Take the blue pill or the red
I'll
pill?
have the non-alcohol.
Non-alcohol.
Cheers. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Hiya.
Oh, God.
You always got to be aware. Head on a swivel, Larry.
Always on. Always on.
Always on.
Now the whole crossing the Drake Passage sequence, it was a kind of a juxtaposition between wanting to show and have people experience the scale of the journey whilst also just kind of getting on with the story. So you're kind of like pushing and pulling against those two sort of competing factors. So on the second day I really tightened it up a lot more with the edit. Like I had one sequence that I cut out which was showing what it was like to have a shower whilst going on the Drake Passage. Taking a shower at sea. Let's see how this goes. Can I do this without filming myself nude?
Got a handlebar to hold on to. Can't really do it whilst filming because you've got to have one hand holding on and the other hand washing yourself.
Now I had a few questions about the music and asking like, when do I choose the music? When does that come about in the process? Like with editing the films, you know, I'll start out by organizing all the footage and then I'll break it down. And then I'll just start finding the music. I'll find the music before I cut a single frame actually together. And I'll search for lots of different kinds of music depending on what style of trip it is. You know, often the location determines what kind of music I was going to use. For Antarctica, I knew it was going to be sort of epic music, but always with epic music, you have to be very careful not to go too far because you want to give that right feeling of like, oh my God, wow, without it being too over the top. If it's all guns blazing with choirs and huge orchestra, it'll just sound silly and people start laughing. You just want to give that sense of awe without overdoing it. And one of the main tracks that I loved in the Antarctic film, I actually found quite a few months ago when I was editing the Borneo series. Like anytime I found a track that I thought that might be good for Antarctica, I just saved it in a different bin. Like there's a few music sites I use, but one's called Musicbed, and there's also, I'll put a link in the description where if you sign up, I get commission, so please sign up. But I found this one track and it just seemed perfect for the trip and for Antarctica, which is this one here. And I liked it because it felt a bit eerie, kind of like a bit of mystery to it. Like you can just imagine sailing through clouds and then you suddenly get the reveal of where you are. And just that deep pad, that boom boom, just gives such a sense of scale, and also like just makes you tingle, get excited. Like, so I had this track before we even went to Antarctica, and I remember when we were in Antarctica and just chilling in the room, like on the Drake Passage or something, I played this track to Jamie, and I said, just imagine this with what we're gonna see, and you just hear it, and you're like, oh god, that's gonna be so good. Again, a standard travel vlog will just chuck on Tropical House or just some bland music that has nothing to do with what you're feeling or where you are or anything at all. Like, the music can help you tell the story so much and help you get across the emotion so much. And so many people just use it as an afterthought, like, oh, I've cut it together, fuck it, I'll chuck on those tunes, it works okay. Whilst if you spend the time searching for the right tracks, it just lifts everything to a whole other level. And as soon as I found this track, I was just like, oh, I'm saving that, and that's gonna go straight for Antarctica. When we had this first morning arriving in Antarctica and seeing all these views, I had more footage of people talking and reacting to it, and some people even joking around. What do you think, Howard?
It's all right.
Doesn't top Lucian.
No.
Good
thing you're right.
But the main thing you always want to think about when you're editing is tone. Like, what tone do I want this scene to be? And I wanted this scene to be just all of us in awe of what's around and letting the audience experience what we were feeling. And so there's a couple of gags of people just joking around, which was funny on the day and stuff, but in terms of the edit, it was like, that's not the vibe I want to go for this scene, so I just cut them out. Now, I got a lot of questions about filming and cameras and stuff, and I got this one question from Kyla saying, does anyone help you film? With all of my series, the majority of the footage is shot by me. If I'm traveling with a friend like James, or traveling with Jamie or whatever, then obviously they'll help out as well. Like, sometimes I'll say, can you hold the camera whilst I'm talking to the camera?
Wait, I don't even know what I'm going to say.
I think that's the best start, Karl.
Yeah.
When I've done the group trips, you'll see in the end credits, like, filmed by me and other people listed, like Waleed and Mark and other people, because they'll be shooting bits on their cameras and GoPros as well, and I'll sort of incorporate some of their footage. With the Antarctica film, the sort of film by credits at the end are really long because everyone was getting clips on their phones and different bits and pieces. And so, like, on the last day of the Drake Passage, when we had that little sort of drinking party in our room, I got my laptop out and I just got everyone to airdrop everything that they filmed. Like, I got everyone's footage, no matter how small or big. I just brought it all in and then organized it in the editing software. And I had a couple of people asking me, what camera do I use? The main camera that I use is a Sony a7S III. I got this camera in 2021. I've also got an Insta360. Well, it's the Insta RS Twin Edition, so it's a 360 and the action camera. 360 can be useful for every now and again, but the quality's not quite what I want it to be. But my secondary camera most of the time is just my phone. Like, if I'm in a situation where I want to be a bit more inconspicuous with the camera, then I'll just get clips on my phone. So I'll use that every now and again. And then we had other people in the group shooting with various different cameras as well. I also had a few people as well asking about the batteries and how they held up in the cold. Like, it wasn't that cold in Antarctica. Like, you're wearing all the layers and they're doing their job. But it wasn't like, you know, a Winnipeg winter or anything like that. We're obviously there in the summer season, so it's warmer there than it will be in their winter. Like, I've had it worse before on trips, like when I did the Everest Base Camp trek on the summit day, and I actually had someone ask about this, and they used the exact same example from their experience. On the summit day of Everest Base Camp trek, my batteries would just last like 2 minutes. They were just like leaking power. Because you start hiking at like 5 AM and the sun hasn't properly come up yet, and it was really fucking cold. And so like the camera would barely work. You put the battery in, it'd have 60 minutes of power, but it only lasts 2 minutes. In Antarctica, it seemed to hold up fine, you know. I always have like 3 batteries on me, and that seems to do me fine for the day. Then I'll just recharge each night. Now, one of my favorite deleted scenes was, it was the first evening on the Zodiac, and the guide here, you'll hear him talking about the concept of how sort of insignificant we are and how we are nothing kind of thing. But he also had another bit where he read out this poem about wildlife and how, you know, people interpret wildlife and our response to it. And it was beautiful, but in order to make it work in the edit, you'd want to cut away to footage of wildlife. And on that evening Zodiac, I didn't really have enough shots of wildlife to sort of make that sequence work. The only way to make that sequence work would be cutting to shots I would get on days 2, 3 and 4. Which would have been a bit jarring in the edit to sort of suddenly cut to all this footage you haven't seen yet and just one of these random shots of wildlife that had no context. So I didn't put it in the edit, but I've cut it together now with footage from all the different days of the wildlife, and so hope you enjoy it.
It says, we need another and wiser and perhaps a more mystical concept of animals. Remote from universal nature and living by complicated artifice, man in civilization surveys the creature through the glass of his knowledge and see thereby a feather magnified and the whole image in distortion. We patronize them for their incompleteness, for their tragic fate of having taken form so far below ourselves. And therein we err, for the animal shall not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move finished and complete, gifted with extensions of the senses we have lost or never attained. Living by voices we shall never hear. They are no brethren, they are not underlings. They are other nations caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and travail of the earth. It's beautiful, isn't it?
That's beautiful. Wow, thank you for that.
It's like a Bible verse.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful, and I agree. I was like, yes, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Now, one of the main challenges with editing Antarctica was, you know, I had all this beautiful footage to work with, but you don't just want it to be a B-roll montage of like, look at all these nice shots I got with some nice music. You know, the challenge was, what's the story? And so for each Zodiac trip, I wanted to focus on a different element. So, you know, the first Zodiac's just our excitement of like first time being out exploring, seeing the whales and landing on Antarctica. The second one was the evening one. I kind of focused it on the guide and the concept of how we are but nothing. There's other ones like on my birthday where it's about like the sea ice landing, all that fun stuff. But for the morning of the second day, I didn't get to talk to camera much because where I was sitting on the Zodiac was right next to the guide and right next to the engine. And the guide was talking like almost throughout the trip, so I didn't want to be there monologuing. So I had a lot of lovely footage, but not too much story. So I was like, well, this will be a good chance to explain about how well protected Antarctica is and sort of the scientific side of being there. Because you get a few comments on YouTube of people going like, oh, you shouldn't go to Antarctica, leave it untouched and you're just going to ruin it, like humans shouldn't go there. And yes, there are problems with over-tourism all around the world. It can be a big problem. And whilst not everything Antarctica is perfect, it is so well protected and regulated. So I just felt it was important to explain that in the video, and this Zodiac trip was the perfect opportunity to do that. So let's skip forward to the evening of the third day, which was my birthday and the big birthday roast that Jamie organised. Now, I had no idea this was going to happen at all. It was a complete surprise. If you take out the emotion of it, the surprise and the laughter and stuff, just from a cold video making perspective, I love the concept of it, having it in the film, because it can be, you know, the series could be a bit like, oh, look at me, I got 28 people to go to Antarctica and it's my 40th birthday, aren't I great? So to have a sequence where everyone just rips the shit out of you and brings you back down to earth, I love.
His channel recently surpassed 280,000 subscribers. That's amazing. That's one subscriber for every time he's complained about his fucking broken shoulder.
And again, from the editing perspective, you have to assume the audience doesn't know you, doesn't know anything about you, and so you have to sort of pick the jokes which kind of work for someone who's new to your channel.
Hello, Karl. Hi, Elijah here. I hope this finds you happy, healthy, and well.
With the Elijah Wood surprise, in order for the audience to understand how much that meant to me, any joke in the roast, which was about me being a Lord of the Rings geek, I kept in, so then the audience knows how much it means to me when Elijah Wood suddenly pops up on screen.
Look, I understand you're a bit of an influencer. I can't keep a straight face. You're a travel YouTuber.
Now I have created an extended cut of this roast where like nearly all the gags are in and they've been put together, and I'm going to post that for patrons. But what I'm also going to be doing right now is launching a YouTube membership. So underneath where the video is playing there's a button that says join, and that's how you become a member of my channel. And how it's going to work is going to be the exact same content and the same setup as my Patreon. It's just two different avenues for people to support the channel, because Patreon's been getting on my nerves lately. Like, they've had this thing now where you can sign up as a free member. They don't get access to any of the additional content, they just become a patron but not see anything. And so anytime I ask people to sort of say, hey, there's bonus stuff on the Patreon site, people go and sign up as a free member, they don't get the content and I don't make any money from it. So because I'm going full-time with the channel, I want to get as many income revenues from it as possible without spoiling the films. And so that's why I'm going to launch the YouTube membership as well. So if you're a patron, there's no need to sign up for the membership. It's going to be exactly the same stuff. I mean, you can sign up for both if you want, I'm not going to complain, but yeah, they're both going to cost the same amount, which is just £5 a month. You'll get exclusive content, early access to the films, priority access to the tours, all kinds of benefits. The Patreon's still going to exist, going to be exactly the same. The YouTube membership's just going to mirror the Patreon, so people can sign up to one or the other, but it's just a way to make it more accessible to people watching the channel. They can just see a join button right there. So the first thing that will be uploaded for the membership and also for patrons will be the complete extended cut of this roast. And it is a roast, so some of the jokes are pretty dark and dirty, it gets pretty full on, so hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. You know, Karl does videos with his mum, I'd now do them with his dad.
Now, in the edit, the fourth and final day of being in Antarctica, being at Deception Island, is pretty short, and that's just because after the birthday roast and the Elijah Wood bit, it's such a climax that like the audience is pretty much ready to sort of, you know, ready to go home now, ready to stop watching. It's like it feels like an end, and so I wanted to just keep it brief and just sort of be like, as soon as we get there, give it a sense that like, look, this is we're in the home stretch now. You know, we're building towards the end rather than lingering there too long. And it was a cool experience, but there wasn't much story to it. We went to this amazing location, got battered by the weather, and that's about it. So I didn't need to linger on it too much anyway. And for the journey home, like on the last day on the ship when there's all like the speeches and things like that and the celebrations, they had like an auction for different things you could buy from the ship. And one of the bits in the auction was like a prize of getting to drive the ship for like 10 minutes that evening or whatever it was. James started bidding for it, and then Mike started bidding for it, and it was quite a lot of fun, but I cut it out, one, just because I wanted to wrap the film up, and two, you know, there's no payoff from it. You don't see the winner actually driving the ship or anything like that, so it was just like, get rid of it.
Okay, we'll begin the bid at $30. $30 there. 40. Who said 50?
100.
100. I like that. 100. He wants to steer.
He doesn't want to sail the ship.
150. $150 here to drive. To
200.
steer.
200 for Jim.
200. Hey, we have a captain here. 200. How much?
220.
220. Did I hear 230?
250.
250. Okay. Now you decide.
Sold. Sold.
250. Did I hear 260? 260.
No, you didn't.
260 there. Yes. 260. Did I hear 270? 270.
300.
280. 280 here.
300.
300. Okay, I heard 300 here. 350. Okay, what? Quite a few captains. 350.
They're all beating against you, James.
No?
Day's work, mate. It's day's work, mate.
500.
It's the sugar daddy.
500. I like that attitude.
520.
520. Okay, who said 540?
Chase.
He's just going to outbid me.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't do that.
There we go. Okay. 625 at once, 625 at twice,
Someone get a ruler!
Okay. And the captain is you!
Now, in this final sequence in Ushuaia, when we're in the hot tub, and I sort of joke about backpacking and say, don't worry viewers, the next trip will be backpacking. That next trip was the Midnight Train to Georgia series, which is already out on the channel. So this was November 23, that series was January 24. That was our trip of going overland from London to Istanbul and then to Georgia. So if you look at the Ultimate Binge playlist, it's going to be in that chronological order. And in fact, the next film I'm editing after this is my South Korea trip, which was actually from October, which was before Antarctica. I just wanted to edit Antarctica first. So the series have come out in a bit of a weird order this year, but it's just the way it's been. But once South Korea is done, we're sort of back on track, and the next trip that I'm doing is the Africa tours this summer, and that'll be the next series out, and everything after that will come out in the order it actually happened. But yeah, I'm super pleased and proud of how the series turned out, and it's almost just a relief as well, because I put a lot of pressure on myself for this film. The Antarctica trip is like it's a climax of a 10-year journey with the channel before we go on to the next phase, which is the Midnight Train to Georgia, and you're going to see what's coming next soon. But also it was a climax of these few years of doing tours and building up to having like this group here in Antarctica. And it's such a big adventure, such a once-in-a-lifetime trip. I really wanted the film to be, I want it to be incredible, I want it to be amazing, I want it to blow people away like it did for us experiencing it. So I always spend a lot of time on the edits trying to get it as good as possible, but for this one I was just so meticulous with like every shot has to be good. And luckily, because I had so much good footage to choose between, I could just be brutal with the edit. Like if a shot wasn't fantastic, it can go. Other times when you're editing a trip and you get to a place and you didn't film it that well, and you just have to make do with what you got and hope it's okay. But luckily for Antarctica, we had so much good stuff that I could just just keep the absolute best. And like there's a saying with editing, which is kill your babies. You might have a shot that you think's really cool, but if it doesn't work for the edit, get rid of it. Just be brutal with the edit and try and tell the best story possible. Because yes, you could make an extended cut of these episodes and chuck every one of these deleted scenes and other bits and pieces in, but people wouldn't enjoy it as much. Everyone always wants more, and they say they want more, they say they want extended editions, and sometimes the extended editions are better, Lord of the Rings of course, but more isn't necessarily good. Fortunately, the feedback on this series and the reactions from you guys in the comments has been wonderful, and I really appreciate it and love it. And people have been saying they've been crying watching it. I'm like, yes, that's what I want. But if I'd thrown everything in, put every single moment and scene in and made it way longer, the reactions probably would have been like, oh, that's really good, rather than people saying it's really great. So whenever you're editing, story is king. So thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it was interesting, useful and entertaining. Just a quick last note, I had a lot of other questions sent in from people which were more generic about filmmaking and how I make the videos, which weren't specific to Antarctica. So I'm going to do another video in the coming weeks where I'll answer more questions. It'll be more of a generic travel filmmaking Q&A. So if you do have more questions you want answered about how I make these films, leave them in the comments and I'll do another shout out for questions in a few weeks time when I come around to making that video. So thanks to everyone who contributed for this one. Thanks for everyone who watched this series. Again, been blown away by the reactions. It means so much, guys. And stay tuned, because there's a lot more stuff coming on the channel very soon.